In time, you notice that when it comes to the whole word and principle of community, as time goes on, you find out that community and culture has nothing to do with the color of your skin or what community that you are labeled to belong to based upon nationality, this whole political arena. When I ventured over to the Dharmasala, India in 2000, you might as well say like late 2005 going into 2006, I spent 3 months over there. And I found out that community has absolutely nothing to do with the color of your skin, biology. It has everything to do with divine principle. Your home is where your heart is, based upon spiritual. Your brother and your sister are those who are pretty much on, if not the same level of spirituality, but very similar levels of states of spirituality. And everything is based upon your behavior towards the human being. It has nothing to do with skin tone. And I believe that the black community has shown me that pretty much the majority of my life coming up in Chicago, as well as my being here in Las Vegas ever since November the 22nd of 1987. Especially considering all of the current things that are going on right now. Like this whole Super Bowl thing that Kendrick Lamar had just performed. And that's all it was. It was just a performance, and a whole lot of people are making a big deal out of it. Oh, this meant that, this, all of these simple things, and if this person, and those who got it will get it, but those who don't get it, they're just lost. Fine. All of that conflict and all of that, those who got it will get it, and those who didn't get it are just lost. And really, who cares? Because the only thing that this current culture is going to go back to is you're just going to go back to being exactly who and what you've been for the past almost 40 years. Which implies a community that still has very little progress in this world in terms of the evolution of the moral standard. But when it comes to the degeneracy and the decrease in moral standards, if that is context, you had better believe the black community of this country has been successful in that particular area. So the whole thing is, everything is principle. And if you think that everything is not principle, that's one of the primary reasons why you're caught up in the divisiveness that's going on concerning culture in general. I don't relate to any of those things, and I never have. And my whole life I've been consistently attacked for that. However, I sit here as a survivor without a mind that has been changed up under the pressures of what people feel as though I should conform to simply because of the color of my skin. I'm not going to conform to ignorance. I'm not going to conform to symbolic meanings and all of that, because all of those things don't mean anything if you do not know how to treat yourself and therefore the next person who you see on the street. And simply because some of us got the message, I don't really see any relevance or importance in that Because if you feel simply because you got the message and you looking across at others and you feel as though they didn't get it, why are you looking down on them because they didn't get it? What happened to reach one, teach one? And if the message wasn't as clear as it was supposedly had been, to the degree that it affected everyone in the community as under one understanding, then who cares? Those who get it and those who didn't get it, who cares? All I'm hearing is a whole bunch of divisiveness. When it all boils down to it, you are responsible for your life. You're responsible for your success, and you're responsible for your failures. It's you. It's not a whole community of people. Because, in fact, it's never been a whole community of people. It's only been a whole community of people based upon skin tone, but not the oneness of mind and not the oneness of spirit. Let's just be real with it. You know? Just be real with it. But I know, we've been living these fraudulent lies for so long. When it all boils down to it, you look out for yourself. And don't be concerned about people who are constantly attacking you because you ain't on the same bandwagon that they're on. Especially when you're intelligent enough to look at the bandwagon and see that bandwagon is not going to benefit you. Because it's not benefiting even those who are on the bandwagon, because they feel as though they need the approval and the acceptance of everyone on that bandwagon. I don't need your approval. I don't need your approval, and I've never needed your approval. Because I have my mind focused on what I am interested in this life journey. Because let me tell you something. You live this life alone. You walk this life alone. And when you die, it's just going to be you and the Creator. And that's the reality of it. The reality of it, you are put on this earth to fulfill a purpose, which is between you and the Creator. And if you have to bear children, those are your responsibilities. Not how everyone sees you and how everyone looks at you or disagrees with you or even disagree with you. You're put on this earth to fulfill a purpose, and you do just that. And those who attack you simply because you are not on that same mentality or that same mindset, to hell with them. Who cares what they think anyway? It's all about how you think and how you feel about it. And you keep moving forward and you keep becoming successful because you are responsible for your present, and therefore you are responsible for your future. And with that being said, you be responsible for yourself, and don't you worry about everyone else and what they say and what they think. Because what they say and what they think means absolutely nothing. It is one fundamental truth about every human being upon this planet. And that is, the Creator created every single one of us in the likeness of, if you were to study, snowflakes. Yeah, snowflakes. They're all snow. But when you go under the microscope and you look at every single snowflake, you will find that each snowflake has its own beautiful design. I mean, it's the same as every living, created human being. What makes each and every one of us an individual and unique is that in spite of the recorded 600 billion people on this planet, every single one of us have our own fingerprint. Which implies that we are unique of ourselves. We were created unique. And we were created individuals. And we all serve a unique and divine purpose on this planet. And therefore we are all a part of the same humanity. So when we move forward in our lives and we are segregated into being certain communities and therefore nationalities in terms of what country that we come from or we were born in and raised in, and we're pushed into these different community sections, black, white, Hispanic, and so on. And we come up inside of a system to where each and every different community is treated in a certain way in order to be able to control each and every community. We feel as though, based upon the color of our skin, that there's some divine prophecy that's going on to where we actually become belonging to a certain community simply because of the color of our skin, even though we were created unique. We were created individually to serve a divine purpose on this planet. And see, all of this is brought up because of my particular experience coming up in life. A man who was 61 years old, who's been through it, who has been rejected by every single community, and I don't have a problem with that. As a matter of fact, I'm very much at peace with that because I'm very much myself. I'm very much exactly what I was created to be and who I was created to be. A human being, a singular human being. That's what I am. I don't belong to any structured community because I know how to treat people. When I was coming up in Chicago, Illinois, I was raised up in a community called Chatham Village. And in Chatham Village was very diverse. We had all different types of people in the community. We had blacks, we had Italians, we had what is called West Indian people from the West Indies. We had Indians, we had East Indians, we had people who were mixed as myself. And so a whole lot of us who came up in Chatham Village, we were what you would call biracial. We had Creole people as myself. We had every different type a structured community in our community. And everything flowed fine as long as the elders were good examples in our community. Our elders created a very safe environment for us because our elders were very productive and they were very responsible. They were very responsible. And of course, as time goes on, you get older and you come in contact with different situations to where these situations are there to educate you on some of the aspects of living that you will eventually have to deal with and face, like racism. And not only with whites, but also with blacks. You're going to have to deal with that. I grew up in a neighborhood to where I saw black men loving and respecting one another. I grew up in a community to where I saw beautiful, natural black women loving and respecting one another. They would carry themselves like ladies. The way that I was raised up, you couldn't even whistle at a woman. Because when I was coming up, we were taught that women are not dogs. They're not animals. So it's offensive to whistle at women. I used to walk down the street with my uncles, and I used to see the way that my uncles and black men who were even strangers to my uncles, how they would show love and support and honor to one another. I saw this with my own two eyes. And as time goes on, you see things change. You see people in your community who you looked up to and loved like big brothers get strung out on drugs and alcohol. To the degree they don't even recognize you anymore. They don't recognize you anymore. And as time goes on, you hear this person passed away, that person passed away. You look out the window, you see the younger generation get strung out on drugs. You see your little brother walking down the street with a long trench coat on, and he's strung out. He's walking down the street and he's talking to himself. And this is someone who you knew coming up. This is someone who you knew and you loved every single day of their lives. However, you see, as the elders pass away, and that puts people who are strung out on drugs in a more dangerous position because the elders have passed on, and therefore compassion has passed on. And those who are left in the community who have compromised their own compassion towards these people, instead of reaching out to help them get their lives together, now they're mocking them. They mock them. And they stand by and they laugh at them. They mock them until they're no longer able to do anything because they're dead. And now all of a sudden you want to come to their funerals, you want to shed tears for them when you could have kept them out of that casket. But what we're looking at today is pretty much the same thing. It's just in a whole nother different um, insidious form. And as you see things change, it's because of the change in the people that you know, which gives you an indication that things in life are changing. And as you're standing on the outside, simply because you've never conformed to a whole lot of the different vices in the world, because your attention and your interests have always been in other directions, including certain directions that you were even made fun of and mocked of. You come out on the end of where you're safe and you're sane and you're at peace. Peace. You're at peace. And your only disturbance is seeing those around you diminish into a state of degeneracy. And then as time goes on, you listen to the dialogue of a whole lot of so-called black leaders, and they speak on these things. They speak on these things. And simply because you can identify with them because of the color of your skin, you start feeling this sense of dread within yourself, because you've been conditioned to think that you belong to everything that this so-called black leader is speaking of, when you have lived the majority, if not your entire life, on the outside of what has been constantly destroying everyone around you. And suddenly you forget, or you are made to forget, that you were created as an individual human being. And if it's one thing that helps you remind yourself of that, is the treatment that your so-called community gives you, because you're so different than everybody. You're not walking around smoking joints. You're not walking around drinking beer. You're not walking around gang banging. You're not doing none of those things. And so you're pushed on the outside of those things. And so this anger and resentment comes up inside of you, because you don't understand. How is it that I'm losing my friends? Why am I being rejected? Why are certain people who are coming into the community separate me from the friends that I thought were close to me, when if someone can just come into the community and separate you from people in whom you thought you were close to, it reveals that you were really never close to these people in the first place. You have always been alone. So it goes back to one basic principle. You are an individual, regardless of your surroundings, regardless of your physical likeness towards everyone that are in your midst. You're on your own. And what's blessing about that, once you come to realize that, it pinches a little bit. But once you come to accept it, because of the wisdom that the Creator imbues within inside of you, you become at peace with it. And you begin to see the benefits of being an individual outside of what is destroying this community of people who fell for the propaganda that they are supposed to be a member of this certain community that is slowly destroying themselves. That's the bandwagon that you were supposed to have jumped on. And simply because you refuse, you're an outcast. That's fine. I would rather be an outcast than to be a part of degeneracy. I would rather be an outcast. Because I see the results of being outcasted. I see the results of being the black sheep of the family. I see the results of it. And I'm at peace with it. So this whole thing with this whole Super Bowl thing, that everybody feels like everyone should jump on board because of its symbolic meanings and all of those things. You had better believe, before they allowed all of those things to transpire on that stage, this government saw to it that, yeah, we'll let them get away with these little symbolic gestures and all of those things. Because the information that's being put out, it's not going to hurt us. It's actually going to hurt them, because they actually are going to start thinking that this little information that's going out is going to liberate them. But the only thing that it has done is further divide the community. You've got people on one side talking about they got it and this, that, and the other, and if you didn't get it, then you're just this. And here it is, less than a week later, you look around, you're still twerking, you're still sleeping around, being a cum bucket, you're still thugging, you're still being degenerate. And those of us who claim who didn't get it are the ones that's being attacked. But look at you, who claim to have gotten it. Look at what you're doing. You know how the Bible says, behold, the dog returns to his own vomit? That's you. Now with this so-called profound information that was supposed to have came out of this Super Bowl performance, what impact, moral impact, has that had on the black community other than the evidence of its divisiveness? Somebody explain that to me. You have Minister Louis Farrakhan, who supposedly be this leader of the black community. Lamar, he's the boss. He brought it up to a whole higher standard. I'm still trying to figure out what standard that he's talking about, because all I'm seeing is the same thing that is further destroying the community. I don't see any better behavior. All I see is further degeneracy and further conflict. Everyone's arguing, going back and forth. Any information that causes further divisiveness in the community needs to be ignored. I'm even going to go here. You know, Brother Malcolm's House Negro and Field Negro dialogue. I understand how he was teaching people the distinctions between those on the plantations who was for liberation and for those people who were in the preservation of the white community back in those days. However, that type of dialogue separates people. And after that dialogue got out, now you had black people claim me, oh, you a house nigga. I'm a field nigga, you a house nigga. So what did that type of information do for the black community? You got people like Umar Johnson, coon this and coon that. Divisiveness. You're not teaching the community anything if the information that you're distributing to the community is going to cause divisiveness. Even if it's accurate, you still have to have the wisdom in order to know how to display certain information that it is only for the sake of education and not for the effects of separation. That's the point. So who is it that didn't get it? The people who claim to get it are the ones that's attacking everyone else who are asserted to didn't get it. Look at your attitude. Instead of reaching one and teaching one, you're attacking people. And you wonder why they allowed him to get on the stage and distribute that level of information, because they knew that it wasn't going to have any type of impact on a community other than to further divide. Please understand the endangerment of information. And unless we understand how certain information is not going to help us despite its roots in reality, you have to understand how to distribute certain information that it won't cause separation, but it may enlighten people without it causing separation. That's the whole point that I'm making. If the information and the symbolic meanings are going to further separate the community intellectually and therefore mentally, it's information that the community can do without. And that's the point. And with that being said, that's just something that a lot of us are going to have to keep in mind, regardless if it was true or not. If it's true or not, it's the effects of what's being said. It's going to determine if it's beneficial or if it's non-beneficial. Because if it's non-beneficial, it only means that the same community that you're trying to wake up, you're further separating them. And everyone's going at each other's throats through these pointless debates over nothing. And the results is just going to promote a whole bunch of unnecessary hatred towards one another. And it's going to create further animosity down the road. If it's going to cause animosity, I'm not conforming to none of it. Stay human. Stay a human being. Think for yourself. And don't jump on any bandwagon because you're surrounded by so many people who feel like you should when you black just like us. And so you need to jump on this bandwagon. No, I don't need to jump on nobody's bandwagon. I need to continue to live my life because this journey belongs to me. Not you or anyone else. It's my journey and no one else's.